Hello, yogis, and welcome to our Friday Empower Yin practice. If you're looking to connect to self, to slow down, to center the mind, and to connect the mind and body, you are in the perfect place. My name is Jill Antignac, and I'm the lead trainer and founder at Yogi Institute, an online yoga school and studio, and it is awesome to have you here. So for today's practice, you may want to have a blanket handy and maybe a block. If you don't have any props, that's okay. You can do this practice without props, or you can use a variation of props. So maybe instead of a blanket, you have a pillow. Maybe you want to roll up your mat. Maybe you have a book instead of a block. There's lots of variations to the props, and you can use anything that works for you. In our yin practice, we slow down, we come into sensation, and we pause and observe. So that's really what yin is about. It's about connecting more deeply to the body's sensations and holding and staying curious and being with that sensation for a set time. So if you are looking to slow down the mind and the body, this is the perfect place for you. Let's start today's practice in a butterfly position, bringing the soles of the feet together. The knees come out wide. Now, if you have a blanket or a block or both, you can always put those underneath the knees, or you can let the knees hang out. That's the difference between our restorative practice and our yin practice. Our restorative practice, we use the props so that we can really relax. Our yin practice, we are looking for sensation. We're never forcing the body, like I could force my hands down and feel more opening through my hips. We don't want to force the body. We just want to come to a place that is sustainable in the pose. Now, what we're going to do here is let the hands rest on top of one another as we lean forward. So you're just really gently cupping one hand in the other, and you're creating this nice gentle pelvic tilt. And I invite you to close down your eyes and allow yourself to be in this moment, to be in this body, allowing the sensations to draw you in, allowing the breath to draw you in. So let's bring in that breath awareness. As we're in this pose, take an inhale as you lengthen, and exhale as you release. And inhale as you lengthen, and exhale as you release. What I love about this position with the hands is it's like you're supporting yourself. It's like you're holding your own hand. And I love that the palm is palm facing up because we're also open to receive, opening up our palms to the support that we have to offer ourselves, but also the support that there is beyond ourselves, whatever that looks and feels like for you. Having those palms open, palm facing up, feeling into those sensations through the back line of the body. And let's walk the hands back toward the body. Guide the knees toward one another. Let's take a moment and just kind of pedal out one knee, pedal out the other. What we're really focused on here is bringing some movement into those hip flexors. And next we're going to come into a wide leg forward fold. So again, you want to find this in your body. Know that your body is going to be different than mine. So if the legs are closer together, it might feel good to fold up your mat and kind of place that under the knees. Just to give a little bit of extra support underneath the knees. Maybe you don't need that. You don't need that. Get nice and tall, and then once again, we're going to come forward with the upper body. And this time, let's really ground our palms down into the floor, spreading the fingers out wide. And again, stay nice and straight through the spine. Now in our yin practice, we are not wanting to take it to that fullest expression right off the bat. We come to a point where we feel some sensation, and then we can stay there, we can pause there, we can be there, and then maybe over time, the body invites you to come a little bit more into the pose. So that might mean you come down onto your forearms. And let's still the mind into the breath. And as you take an inhale in, and as you let that exhale go, know that in this moment, the only responsibility you have is to focus on the breath. And in yoga, we call the breath prana, and prana is a life force because the breath is literally giving you life. Without the breath, you would not have life. So I want you to really own that. Own that each breath is your life force. Each inhale you take, each exhale you take, you are a part of the current of life. And so as your awareness is on your breath, you are focused on you. You are focused on self. There is no room to focus on anyone else when the focus is breath awareness. It is only you. It is only moment to moment. It is only your breath. So as we're here, no matter what shape the body is in, let your focal point be the breath. Bring that upper body back up. And plant the hands behind you. Slowly, gently draw those legs in, planting the feet on the floor. And let's bring some movement in. Gently windshield wipering out the knees. And then let's shift ourselves into a tabletop position. Stacking your shoulders over your wrists, your knees underneath your hips. And let's come into a few rounds of cat-cow. Inhale as you arch and lift, shine the chest forward. Exhale as you round and press, tuck the chin to the chest, let the head hang heavy. Inhale as you arch and lift. And exhale as you round and press. Inhale as you arch and lift. Exhale as you round and press. Let's take 3 more, nice and gentle. Come back to that neutral tabletop position. Let's shift the hips to the left, gazing over the left shoulder, opening up through the side body. Come back through center. Shift the hips to the right, gaze over the right shoulder. Come back through center. Toes come together, knees come apart. Let's sink the hips back to the heels as we reach the fingers forward in our cow pose. Spread the fingers out wide and really allow yourself to sink and settle into this pose. Again, taking a moment to notice any physical sensations that you're feeling through your body. With every exhale, allowing yourself to sink, melt, release, surrender into your mat. On your breath, noticing if the body is able to sink a little bit more into the mat. Inhales and exhales through the nose. Move forward. Let's bring the hips up, bring the knees underneath the hips, and then walk the fingers forward, letting the forehead rest down, coming into our puppy pose. We won't be here very long, but let's just breathe into those shoulders, feel the expansion through the chest and the upper back. And with each exhale, see if you can allow the chest to sink more deeply into the floor. Walk the hands back underneath the shoulders into that tabletop position. Round down into your left palm. And let's take that right hand for a full circle backwards. And again, full circle. And then change direction. Bringing the arm forward and the arm forward. Let that hand come down. Opposite hand, ground down into the right hand. Circle that left arm back twice. And then change direction, circling that arm forward. Twice. Let the hands come back down. Extend your right leg out long. Take a moment to roll out your ankle. Let's actually bend into the knee and do some circles with that right knee. And then step the right foot forward, coming into your low lunge. Sink that left leg back. Start to heel toe the right foot across, and we're going to come into our half pigeon. So with the props, there's always the option to use the block underneath the bottom, because ideally you're keeping the hips nice and square. If you have a blanket, you can place that blanket underneath the bottom. Now, when I say hip square, if you were to take your hands and put them on your hip bones, are they pointed forward? And if you were to point down, are they pointed down? Now, often in our half pigeon, we're told to bring that right leg, that front leg, and bring the shin parallel to the top of the mat. That is not necessary. So know that you can keep that right foot tucked in as much as feels right for you. Again, we're looking for something that is sustainable here in our yin practice. So let's lower down if this is accessible to the forearms, and just allow ourselves to breathe into this space. See if you can actually allow yourself to release through your core and through your low back. Releasing the core is not something that I am used to doing. Usually I keep my core tight almost all the time as I move through the day. So to just really relax it, really let go. Maybe you shift the left hip down into the mat a little bit more, seeing how that little shift makes a difference in the sensation. Let's slow down the mind and focus on the breath, knowing when we are focused on the breath, we are focused on ourselves, on the self. We are focused on fueling the self. We are focused on connecting to the self. We are focused on nurturing the self. And as we take these deep rounds of breath, we are slowing the mind. We're creating time for the self. And back to your breath awareness. Sometimes these postures feel uncomfortable. And one thing that I really love about yoga is that it teaches us to be okay in the uncomfortable. So we never want to feel pain in our postures, but sometimes there's a really deep stretch. Sometimes there's some resistance that we find in the body, and that resistance can make us physically feel uncomfortable. And I encourage you to reflect here on how you respond or react to resistance in your life. Does resistance make you feel uncomfortable? It sure does for me. I love to be in the flow of life. I love to be in the ease of life. But the fact is that growth occurs in uncomfortable places, in uncomfortable moments. Now, growth in this case from our half pigeon pose might be that there's space being created in the body, and that's how we're growing. We're creating space, we're releasing tension. It can be awareness. Let's bring the hands down onto the mat, and we're going to shift our body over to the right as we bring the left foot forward, and then sweep that right foot back, coming into our half pigeon on the other side, switching the props out. We'll start lifted, and again, you can tuck that left foot in as much as you need to. Check in with those hips that they're square. So we don't want to dump off to one side or the other. We want to be nice and squared forward. Again, how I like to think of that is if I were to point forward with the hips and down with the hips, it's straight down, straight forward. That's how I look at being squared. And maybe you want to stay lifted. Just noticing sensations that you feel here, taking a few deep breaths. And then maybe you want to come down to your forearms. Know that those props are there for you. Come back to your breath. And maybe let's get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And it reminds us that even if we are uncomfortable, the breath is there. The breath is there and can create more ease, can create more space. It can help release the discomfort or the tension. What we do on our mats is an absolute reflection of what we do off of our mats. We practice things while we're here. We practice stillness. We practice focus. We practice awareness. Focusing on the breath, we are focusing on the self. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders. Take that left leg, send it back. Release it down. Come into that tabletop position. Let's take a moment, shift the hips from right to left. Maybe kind of sway through the spine. Imagine maybe you're slithering. Sink the hips back to the heels. And then come back forward. Let's actually walk the hands a handprint forward and take 3 rounds of spinal wave. Sinking the hips down, lifting the toes up, lifting the gaze. And then press back hips to heels, fingers forward. Inhale, come forward, lift the toes, lift your gaze. Exhale, press back to child's pose. One more inhale, come forward. And exhale, press back. Come to neutral, shift yourself over to the right or the left, sending the legs out long, come down onto your back. Now, as you come into your final resting pose, it might feel good to draw the knees in and gently shift from side to side. It might feel good to plant the feet down and gently shift the knees from right to left. It might feel good to bring the soles of the feet together, let the knees come out wide, and take a moment to kind of flutter out those knees. It might feel good to send the legs out long, zipping them up tight together, and then shifting the feet from side to side. Or widening the feet and bring the toes together and then apart and together and apart. And let's let ourselves sink into our mat. Deep breath in. Full breath out. Deep breath in. Full breath out. And yourself to sink, settle into this final resting pose. Focus on the breath, focus on the sound. Let's draw the knees back in toward the chest, gently rock from side to side. Grab the backs of the legs, rock yourself all the way up, coming into seated position, ground down into those sit bones, get nice and tall. Let's press the palms together, tuck the chin to the chest. Take 2 more deep breaths here. Know that whenever you make it to your mat, for any yoga practice, you are focusing on the self, you are filling your own cup. So the more consistent you can be, the less depleted you will feel. Our yoga practice benefits us mentally, physically, emotionally. We fill up, we gain understanding of these different layers of ourselves, whether it be physical, mental, or emotional. So know that any time that you can spend on your mat with me or someone else is going to benefit the self. Thank you for being here today, sharing the space, allowing me to share this practice with you, being a part of my community. I appreciate you. The light, the love, the wisdom in me sees, honors, reflects, and encourages the light, the love, the wisdom in you. Namaste. I hope to see you again on your mat very, very soon. If you enjoyed this class, remember, save it, follow, favorite. Until we meet again, may your light be your guide.